definitely, I'm like I said, I'm close. I'm still not getting back to that point where I need to be fast enough. Oh my gosh, there's seriously a cop right here. Oh my gosh, there's seriously a cop right here. I will just pull over and we will talk to him. Oh man.
Yikes.
This used to be my old stomping grounds for the wheelie game, and they're tearing it all apart, man. Tearing it all apart. But we've got porta potties now. Anyway, trying to see if I can get one decent wheelie right here, and then we'll roll on to the other spot. That was decent. Decent, I said, not good, decent. I'll take it. Hey, what's up, you guys? John's Moto Garage. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about some tips and tricks for finding good wheelie spots, and it's going to vary depending on the bike you ride. It's a lot easier if you're on a Honda Grom to find a spot to practice and mess around than it is if you're on something like this Harley Davidson Dyna, for obvious reasons. This one's a lot bigger, you need more space, and this one makes a lot more noise. But I've been at the wheelie game for about a year, and so I have learned a thing or two when it comes to finding good spots to practice. Tip number one, try to stay away from residential areas. Obviously it's going to depend on where you live as well, but if you can get onto the outskirts of town where there's less traffic and you can find some low traffic areas, that's always best. Obviously if you can avoid public streets, that's going to be ideal as well. Stay off the public roads, keep your wheelies to the private property sector. A big thing that helps is go on to Google Maps, go into satellite view, and just search the area, you know, ideally close to where you live, so you don't have to venture too far. The problem is on Google Maps, what looks like a legit wheelie pad, once you get there in person, may not be as cool as you thought it was. I've had that happen time and time again.
And real quick interjection, if you dig Harley Davidson wheelies, be sure to check out Goon Rides. Shout out to my sponsor. He sent me this package a while back. We're going to check it out. Hi, John. Thanks for supporting my future career and for believing in me. And bam. Goon Rides. Go check him out on YouTube. Goon Rides. He's a young up-and-comer, and he's into the Harley wheelie stuff. He's got a supermoto. He claims he's going to buy a Dyna if we can get 2,000 subs before end of the year. I don't know if I believe him or not, but let's put him to the test and see if he actually does it. Big shout out. He sent me this a while back, and I've been slacking, bro. I apologize. But check out Goon Rides for some legit Harley wheelie content. Much better than anything you're going to see on my channel. All right, back to the video.
When you're looking for a spot, industrial complexes and buildings are great. Cul-de-sacs are awesome. Again, you're trying to avoid traffic and stay away from the public eye, so that way you don't have people calling the 5-0 on you or trying to rat you out and get you in trouble. Sadly, with the wheelies, it's a lot like skateboarding. I grew up skateboarding, and when I was a kid, we didn't have as many skate parks as we have nowadays. So you were always going from spot to spot, getting kicked out. You'd find a really good, I don't know, some really good banks, for example, or a really good stair set and rails. You'd be able to session it for a little bit of time, and then you'd end up getting kicked out at some point where people catch on that that's your spot, and they get sick of you riding there. I found that the wheelies are a lot like that, and it's not that people are necessarily out to get you per se, but if you find an abandoned industrial complex, odds are it's not going to be abandoned for too long, and that's the trouble I've been running into. Another thing is, like I said before, if you're on a Honda Grom, it's pretty easy to find places to wheelie. You can have like a tiny parking lot. You can practice in your front yard depending how big it is. But on a bike like this Harley, everything matters. The surface, the texture of the surface makes a big difference. The bikes are super loud, so you got to make sure you're, like I said, far from residential areas ideally. And you need a decent amount of space. You don't want to be in real tight quarters, so it's a lot more challenging. And another big thing is, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but unfortunately you're probably going to be stuck having most of your sessions taking place over the weekend. There's nothing worse than going to your like classic wheelie spot and it's full of cars, you know, because people are working. So typically you gotta stick to the weekends. That one's when generally parking lots are going to be clear and all that stuff. All right, another thing, word to the wise, once you do find a spot, try not to burn it out. In other words, try not to be there day after day. Try to mix it up, have a few different spots that you frequent, so that way you're not getting people too pissed off. Hopefully the people who work or live near your spot appreciate the wheelie game and the art of the wheelie, but the reality is that's probably not going to be the case. Just saying. Don't set your hopes too high or your sights too high. Get used to disappointment, because like I said, a lot of the time you'll find an awesome new spot and it'll become a total bust overnight, or next time you show up it's gated off, or they've got it fenced off, or there's a cop sitting in the parking lot, something along those lines. It happens all the time. So you just got to get used to changing it up, switching it around, and all often kind of session one spot to the next. Oh, the one thing I was going to say, word to the wise, when you go to practice, never go guns blazing into a sesh or into a spot. Always scope it out first, making sure you're well within the speed limit, you're minding your own business, just to make sure that there's nothing, no security, no 5-0, nobody lurking who may cause a potential issue. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm scoping out this spot, making sure it looks okay before we jump into the session. Another key, be respectful of the spot. Don't be leaving trash all over the place. So if you show up and you're hungry and you've got the munchies or you're drinking, pack it in, pack it out. That way you're going to, you know, hopefully leave the place nicer than when you first found it. All right, I think we're doing okay right here. This is a spot that is kind of hit or miss. The texture is pretty slick, plus you got a lot of dirt and dust, and sometimes you've got people hanging out over there, but I'm gonna give it a shot. We're gonna try my luck at some wheelies on the Dyna here. So luckily here we're right next to the freeway, and this is a relatively new complex, so you don't have a ton of traffic through here, but like I said, the surface is not ideal for this motorcycle. All right, let's give it a shot. Now that you found the spot, get to practicing. When possible, keep your sessions to a short duration. That way, again, you're not kind of burning out your areas, you're not pissing people off too much. But let's be honest, that's hard. Once you start having fun and getting into a sesh, odds are you'll be there for a minute. Now this spot is pretty nice. The only problem I have on this bike, with it being so big and me not being very good on this motorcycle, is unless I get up to balance point quickly, I end up getting pulled one way to the other, and I'm just not that good. But it's a pretty decent amount of space. And you'll also note here it kind of slopes up and down, and so again, if you're like a newbie like me, this isn't the most ideal setup with the up and downward slope, because it messes with your balance. But like I said, beggars can't be choosers, you know. Get a couple of rocks just to prop this thing up, huh? I really need to invest in like some legit gear. bumpy over there too, so you know, like I said, beggars really can't be choosers in this name and game. You know what I mean. It's tough being a newbie, man. It's tough being a newbie. Anyway, that's gonna do it, you guys, for the tips and tricks for finding a good wheelie spot. Leave a comment below if you guys have any good tips and tricks. Like and subscribe if you dig the content. Stay tuned for another video trying to learn how to drift on one of these things, starting out in the dirt, because there's no way I'm gonna start out on the street. John's Moto Garage. Like and subscribe if you dig it. We'll hit you on the next one. Nos vemos.